What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash, and today is January 8th of 2025. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, I want to make what may very well be one of the biggest announcements we've made yet for the DataDash channel. Over the last 7.5 years, I've been creating content on cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and various altcoins, as well as covering stocks and other parts of the macro perspective when it comes to finance. However, it's been basically me over the last couple of years sharing my opinion here on this channel, going through and doing fundamental research, a price action analysis, and it's gotten to the point here where I feel like I'm not doing a proper service to everyone by being able to cover every single corner of the market. That's why I want to spend some time here today to talk about a new exciting update here on the channel. I'm going to be bringing on a whole range of new content creators alongside myself who are going to help to create content here on the DataDash channel. Keep you guys informed on market price action, upcoming trends and updates in the market, as well as research and development and new emerging trends. And one of the individuals that I want to bring on first is someone I've been looking at bringing on for some time here in the channel. We've been in conversation for the past couple of months. This is an individual known as Ryan Rotolo. Now, Ryan Rotolo is not a nobody in the space. Ryan Rotolo is the original founder of Crypto Fiend, a crypto YouTube channel which happened to launch actually back in 2017 alongside the time we launched DataDash. And Ryan is a really phenomenal individual. He's not only been in the industry for a long period of time, but is really good about keeping up with emerging trends and updates in crypto and Web3 as a whole. And along with that as well, has a lot of similar alignments to myself when it comes to looking for high quality fundamental trends in the crypto space, trying to find those next big bets within the crypto industry during bull markets. But outside of that as well, there are also some differences between us that really provide a really fresh opportunity where I think the content he's going to be producing on this channel will be incredibly valuable for you guys. He's incredibly happy to be here as a part of the DataDash community, and I would hope above all, guys, that we give him a warm welcome and give him a chance to create some content here in this channel, share his thoughts and opinions, and see whether or not you also enjoy it as much as I do. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and do a quick introduction video where you guys get to learn a little bit about Ryan, hear a conversation between us. We talk about our predictions for 2025, some of the emerging trends we're keeping our eye on, and much more. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Alrighty, Ryan, thank you, man, for making the time. I'm happy to have you here. We got a lot of things to dive into, from some of the emerging narratives in the space, talking about some of our price predictions or event predictions in 2025, as well as our general outlook for the year. So I'm happy to have you on, man, and thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an absolute honor. I appreciate the opportunity and being able to speak to your audience. It's should be a good conversation.
Man, I'm blessed to have you on and stuff. So I wanted to go ahead and kick off this first topic about the kind of emerging narratives right now, because a big part of the channel is obviously focused on doing broad trend analysis. But within each of those trends, we have new narratives that come up. And I'm curious to hear about where your sights are right now. You've done a lot of research before. You've been in crypto since 2017. I'm curious to hear, where do you have your eye on right now when it comes to some of the emerging narratives and opportunities, maybe in the altcoin sector particularly?
Yeah, well, there's one thing for certain. This next year, 2025, I guess we're in it already. It happened so quick. I think everyone can agree the climate's changed drastically from just a year ago. The majority of governments around the world are finally, looking at crypto as a legitimate asset class. And, with Bitcoin being in the top 10 of, most valuable assets in the world, we're at the big boy tables now. Me personally, I always keep an open mind to all the different sectors of the cryptocurrency space, whether that's, the gaming industry, real estate, DeFi. You got so many avenues. Me personally, I'm paying attention to a lot of the exchange players right now. I think there's this opportunity for some of the legacy players that have been around since, maybe 2016 onward, to really come into the light. There's a lot of reputable exchanges that followed the right path over the years, filed the proper paperwork, and they're finally going to have their opportunity to really, market themselves to a large audience, especially here in the United States. So I think there's a lot of opportunity with a lot of exchanges that have their own tokens or coins. And then aside from that, I think there is a unique niche still in real estate. I personally have always been open-minded to all of the avenues of the industry, with NFTs as well, of course. But specifically with NFTs, I think incorporating real estate into that, or maybe even tokenization of real estate in some aspect. I think there's a play with that as well. That's one thing I really feel like hasn't really been capitalized on really at all. You have your projects here and there, but there's not really been any big move of real estate into the market. So I think there's something there with that, whether it's tokenization or just NFTs in general. I also do think, as that most, people that are in the space for a while know, there's these waves of different sectors that perform very well over a period of time. We just had a big meme cycle. I'm not huge into meme coins personally, but you got to respect it. It is what it is. I think there is a place coming up where there's going to be a window for NFTs to maybe make a little bit of a comeback. Not necessarily like last time, could be totally different, but NFTs do have genuine utility when utilized the proper way, not just always for artwork or
profile pictures,
Right.
PFPs. Yeah.
There's so much utility with that. Whether it's deeds to a home or the title to your car, et cetera, et cetera. So plays with that, I think, are always something to look at. Again, the exchange side of things. And then I've always been big into like the logistics industry. I think that's still a massive opportunity for the logistics industry to capitalize on blockchain tech. You got a lot of big players out there that have their hands in that sector. VeChain's one I've always been a big fan of. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not closed off to any one thing, but those are kind of the buckets I'm focused on at the moment.
It's interesting, right? Because what I've sensed as we've kind of talked over the last couple of months is that I sense that there's a focus on your end on a lot of these narratives that are going to benefit greatly from the changing environment. I know we'll probably spend a little bit of time talking about that, but exchange utility tokens, that's always like a banger narrative in each cycle. It's consistent when there's that demand and growth for exchange trade volume and services. That's always been one that's consistent. It also fits well within the regulatory regime and framework for most countries and jurisdictions. Outside of that as well, you were mentioning as well things like what I would essentially say is kind of like real world assets, even utilizing NFTs for tokenization of particular assets. All these things, including even DeFi, which as someone I was big on DeFi in 2019 and 2020 and kind of went through the whole DeFi summer, saw how DeFi has really been dead for the last 2 or 3 years. Now we have the regulatory framework where a lot of these great ideas we had that were maybe technologically feasible a couple years ago can now actually exist in the practical world. And that gets me real excited. There are frameworks being established in the US. I think we're going to have a pro-innovation regulatory environment that's going to finally allow for so much of what was kind of siloed and pure speculation and DeFi and NFTs, and also this kind of broad hope of real-world assets, into actually being able to be utilized for real everyday assets and transactions. And let alone what is that going to mean for the Binances or the Coinbases or crypto.coms who may or may not have some kind of utility token that could eventually offer services packaged around that. And I think that's going to be an exciting time, like especially for the real adoption of crypto, which gets me really excited.
Absolutely. And for me, at least, I'm at the point where if I see a legacy institution not looking at the cryptocurrency industry at all now in 2025, like just get out of the way at that point. You're doing your customers such a disservice, in my opinion. For years and years, we got this constant jargon from the Jamie Dimons of the world that, the crypto industry is horrific. Stay away from Bitcoin. You got, your classic Warren Buffett statements. But it's at the point now where there's no ignoring it. Bitcoin's in the top 7, top 10, whatever it is right now, of most valuable assets in the world. Governments are probably shaking in their boots. Luckily, here in the United States, we definitely have an administration coming up that's all in for the decentralization aspect, for self-custody. It's really exciting times, and everyone that's not paying attention right now, they're going to have a big wake-up call in a year or so when this really trickles into our lives in a major way. And those watching this video right now, you guys, we truly are still so early. we both, got involved back in 2017 or so. And that was definitely early. But I mean, if we're talking 5 years now, where are we going to be at? This market is going to be multi-trillion dollars, and we get to say that we were, looking at these projects still in their infancy. Even some of these projects that have been around for, 5, 6, 7 years, still they made it through all the financial hardship of all the bear cycles, and they came out on the other side a multi-billion dollar company. It's so amazing. It's so exciting.
I wanted to kind of dive into that, Ryan, because I really would respect giving, especially like getting a good picture of what your outlook is for 2025, because I've sensed in your content and also in our conversations that same kind of theme that, we are entering into a new paradigm shift. And I can feel that. I think for a lot of beaten down industries, and thankfully a lot of the fundamental ones that have like that potential to really disrupt traditional industry, utilizing crypto and Web3. I'm curious to hear, what is your outlook generally, whether it be price action, whether it be broad adoption for 2025? What do you think that the upcoming administration is going to look like? Changes in government and central bank monetary policy? If you could, just like, I'd love to get like a broad overview of what you see 2025 looking like and what might be accomplished.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's very, very. It's a bright outlook. I don't personally like to talk too much about like politics and the content I've done in the past, but it does play a role in everyone's lives. Maybe like 10 years ago, it really didn't. Maybe I was just too young to realize, but now it's like everything revolves around politics to one degree or another, whether it's the price of groceries or certain asset classes. So I think it's a good outlook. I mean, there's no denying that everyone is definitely on the edge of their seat right now, at least for the next couple of weeks, waiting for the new administration here in the U.S. to take place, take office. But I think it's bright. We got a lot of bright people that are surrounding the new administration. We got Doge, cleaning up potentially a lot of poor government spending. And it's been a long time coming, but it's definitely time we address the boogeyman in the closet, clean out the noise, clean out the corruption. And get us on a better track here just in the US. But, in general and globally, I think we have brighter days ahead. There's no denying we have to definitely pay attention to, global conflict around the world. A global conflict, I think, would be the one thing that could really set not just the crypto industry back again, but many industries. So if we can all be friendly, if we can all get along and just be good in the world, I think the next 4 years will be very, very promising. Or the next year alone will be very, very promising for people involved in most markets. But with the cryptocurrency industry specifically, I mean, the sky's the limit. We just saw a massive rally over the last 60 days or so. And I really think that that's just the start of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like a counterpoint to my usual talking points. Sometimes, as you might know, Ryan, in our conversations back and forth, I've sometimes been a bit more kind of conservative or sometimes pessimistic on the markets. It's not so much that I definitely know this time around like things are going to be very exciting. But I've always kind of said like, what is going to be that next big narrative? Like we've got MicroStrategy, we've got pro-Trump, Trump being like a pro-crypto administration. A lot of that is definitely starting to get priced in. And I always think about what that next leg up is going to be. And I think what you mentioned earlier about kind of like global conflict, I really sense that we're not, and maybe not in our lifetimes, or hopefully not in our lifetimes, going to see any kind of serious global conflict. But what we are going to see potentially, and the narrative that a lot of Bitcoin bulls would propagate, is this idea of like a global race towards this digital store of value. I really think that that's the last remaining one. There are the ETFs. Bitcoin is entirely financialized now. There are all the different paths you can take, which is kind of the argument that I would usually kind of bring up to people and say, what's going to be the next leg up for like liquidity injection into Bitcoin and driving the price up, if we're talking purely from a market perspective. But I think that race for governments and for central banks is probably the most compelling, because that's the big picture. That's the
Right.
biggest spigot out there, And I think that I'm curious to get your opinion on it and stuff. Do you think we're going to see, another major Latin American country come in next year? Do you sense that, countries like Germany who might have sold might come back in and start buying Bitcoin? These are definitely important things to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a point I would bring up often on my channel. Is I didn't think the United States would adopt as quickly as it did. We definitely lucked out with that, but my narrative was always, it's going to happen. These countries are going to flock because they're going to have no choice. I personally thought it was going to happen with the second and third world countries first. They were going to look at El Salvador and realize, oh, wow, they are really benefiting from this small, minute change. Everyone, the citizens, business owners, the government, everyone's benefiting from it. Like, I genuinely can't think of any cons to them making Bitcoin a legal tender. So that was my personal take. Is I thought some more small countries were going to adopt first, and then the bigger players like the United States, Russia, China, etc., would again have no choice. Now it's really just sped that up. The United States straight up came in and said, "Hey, we're gonna buy." I believe it's their goal is to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Was that the goal?
There have been some estimates tossed around the treasury. I know during the campaign from like RFK and then Trump, there was a couple different numbers being tossed around. But I at least know the biggest thing is that they plan to hold the existing Bitcoin that they've seized, like, from prior hacks, or I think it was mainly from the prior Bitfinex hack, or some of the other cases where the government still owns about, I think the US government owns around 1% of the entirety supply of Bitcoin. And that's just what we publicly know the US government owns. So I think that, like, yeah, in that case, that was one of the first things they confirmed. And as you mentioned, if they're going to be pursuing a Bitcoin treasury, where essentially they would go out and accumulate a certain number of Bitcoin over time, I completely agree with you that is dramatically sped up the process, that no longer can governments across the world, especially those that are kind of squeezed by dollarization, the demand for the dollar and also the dollar's strength against their currencies, they're going to have to look for some kind of hedge like this that gives them potentially the upside appreciation to basically deal with any type of insolvency as a nation, or to keep up with some degree of a stability during a really unstable time where the dollar's just getting stronger and stronger.
Right. And I think a lot of these countries also, like, obviously China has been a running joke. They've banned it how many times now? 40, 50 times over the years. But right, all these countries essentially have a fire under their ass right now where they have to make a decision. Do we play this game? Do we let the United States be the dominant player in Bitcoin, in the cryptocurrency industry? I mean, it's anyone to an extent can understand that blockchain, the crypto industry, is the next big thing. It is incorporating so many different avenues, so many different markets into one, and being able to capitalize on this technological revolution now in your specific country is so powerful. I know it was just rumors, but the rumor of Trump having zero capital gains tax on any cryptos, created in the United States. Obviously, that's a rumor as of now, at least. But those little things are going to, have the smartest, brightest minds from around the world flocking to the countries that play the game. So, it's very, very exciting. It's honestly, I think everyone in general is just absolutely desensitized at this point. If we look back to 2017, hearing about PayPal potentially accepting crypto as using crypto, that was like, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to double overnight, right?
Yeah.
Now we have, presidents talking about it on the regular, and nobody really bats an eye. It's truly crazy times. But it's good. It's good for us because this gives us the time to accumulate dollar cost average. We don't gotta go take out loans quickly, do anything rash. We could take our time and continue to do what we've done over the many years. If you're watching this and you're just getting involved in the market for the first time, this is in theory one of the best times to first get involved into the market, because there's so much more clarity. There's so much less noise. A lot of the bad actors are gone. Of course, there will always be more in every up and coming industry. There's going to be bad actors, but that's obviously when you do the famous saying, "Do your own due diligence," right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great times. It's one of those things where you simply play the game or you get left behind.
Yeah. And I think, to be honest, one thing that's important to understand is that as there are always new narratives, and also as well, as the market is getting larger and larger, the great thing is that in altcoins, they're working in an environment where there's more users than ever, more liquidity than ever, more stable coin liquidity, Bitcoin's at a higher valuation. All these have positive trickle down effects towards some of the new narratives and opportunities. So there are still those opportunities where you can make multiples on your capital, but you have to be smart. You have to look for those quality plays. You have to look for the narratives that are picking up traction in the market. So that, for me, is what leaves me excited, that there are still, from a trading perspective, there are really still those narrative opportunities. And they always come with each cycle, as you said. They rotate, they have their moments and stuff. And some of them, I think, this time around, have the ability to really stick. So a lot of the fundamental ones, it doesn't always have to be that you have to go for some moonshot opportunity. It can really be something like DeFi. It could be NFTs and real world asset applications and protocols, as you were mentioning earlier, exchange utility tokens. Man, it's been a changing environment, man. 7 years. There's been a lot of change over the last couple of years that you and I have seen. So I wanted to kind of, in closing, Ryan, for those who are watching right now, they're meeting you for the first time. I know we have a lot of ideas that we talked about for the DataDash channel, kind of expanding things. I wanted to maybe kind of give you the floor to talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you kind of envision covering here in the channel, so people can know what to expect when they check out your videos. It doesn't have to be too specific, but just kind of like a brief overview of what you were thinking.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I think you built an amazing foundation for your community. You have so much respect in the industry as a whole. You were literally, we talked about this in the past. You were literally the reason I looked into creating content in the cryptocurrency industry. And I think that was the case for a lot of people, because, back in 2017, there was no blueprint of how to do this. And, again, you were one of those to just say, hey, let me give this a shot. And that created a snowball effect for a lot of people. But, ultimately, I think it's safe to say everyone comes to you for a lot of that data analytic content, right? You provide a lot of clarity. People come for your specific insight on certain topics. And then, of course, those deeper dives into specific industries or projects. What I would love to bring to the table is I want to widen our horizon with the current audience. Of course, we want to cater to the current audience because, we absolutely have to respect the people that got us to where we are. But this market is going to, it still has so much room to grow, right? We've probably tapped 5, maybe 10% of the global population, really, when it comes to people really taking the time to learn and get involved with the industry. I think that's going to grow drastically over the next couple of years. And I think DataDash is the perfect platform to expand the current content variety. So me personally, I would love to offer a variety of content based around deeper dives into specific projects. We can do more beginner-friendly content for viewers that are just getting involved in the space. And then, of course, talking about some more up-and-coming trending events, news-related type topics, and really branching out from there. Of course, a big role with any of this is getting feedback from the audience. So you guys watching, if there's certain niches or genres you want to see on the channel, we would love to hear your feedback on that. But that's where I'm really thinking is we branch out from what is currently being offered and just simply make DataDash bigger and better than it's ever been. So yeah.
It sounds awesome, man, because for me personally, one thing that I really think is great about DataDash, as you mentioned earlier, and I appreciate you sharing your story as well about it, Ryan. I'm very happy to hear about that. For me personally, I always wanted to make sure that there was some quality home where people could come to get quality information on crypto. It's still difficult in today's world to be able to do that. There are a lot of people who come and go with each cycle. And I think the biggest thing above all is that I want to make sure that DataDash not only serves as that place for quality research or market analysis, always giving an honest, genuine opinion, not always getting it right, but ideally getting it right more than we get it wrong. But beyond all of that, I would love for this channel to be able to service more avenues, be able to get more voices on. I think I've done a good job of kind of establishing DataDash as that brand that people can trust. But I think above all, any place is going to be better served. And you see this with a lot of channels I respect, like Coin Bureau out there, who are essentially being able to bring on a larger set of voices and be able to cover more corners of the market. I've been kind of a one-man shop for the last couple of years.
I feel you there, brother.
And you know how that is and stuff. So I would love to definitely get it where we get more people, getting to come onto the channel. You guys are getting more content out there as well. I've been basically still keeping up with weekly uploads and, covering some of the different projects we have on our radar. But I definitely know that Ryan and other additional people we maybe bring on over time are going to just bring more and more value and different kind of pivots and opinions, I think, on different segments of the market. So Ryan, man, I'm very happy to have you on, man. It's a true honor considering your experience in crypto and just, considering all the similarities that we have, some of the projects that we really like as well. It's been so great to get to know you over the last couple of months. I'm very happy to have you on board. And I hope you guys as well, listening in, if you made it this far in the interview, you give Ryan a good chance, listen to some of his content. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job, much better editing than me by a long shot. That's
Not
something
that much better.
That's something I didn't really learn very well over the last couple of years, but luckily the content format's been pretty simple. But anyways, Ryan, thank you, man, for making the time. As always, I'm really looking forward to some of your content being up on the channel. If you guys haven't already, consider subscribing and joining into the family. We really appreciate it. Consider dropping a like as well. But Ryan, thank you so much, man, for making the time to join as always. And I'm looking forward to seeing you more on the channel.
Yeah, thanks so much. And next time we do this interview, I'm going to be interviewing you. I think that's something people definitely want to see. They want to dive a little deeper into who is Nicholas Martin. So
awesome, man. Let's do it.